I had a question for you, Daniel. You're on the front line of this issue too. What comes across your desk, and anecdotally, I'd like to have you explain something that hit you just now, and explain for everybody here the speed at which you're combating bad information, misinformation out there. Give us a sense of what it's like for you on a daily basis, intercepting the barrage of strange stories out there, and how you deflect.
Well, first of all, I'll echo what Michal and Matti said. I feel so privileged to be a part of this really amazingly meaningful group here. I've been fans of all of you guys for years. I tell you what, the hardest part of my day is always when I read what's out there and feel that sense of angst that something was written in a way that's wrong. But then the best part of my day is when I start doing something about it, whether it's writing a critique that's really well thought out, or preparing a video that we put out on YouTube, and that feeling that you're doing something changes the whole experience. And then you feel like you're actually making a difference, making the world a little bit better, and the things that bother you don't bother you so much. Someone once said to me, don't try to change the world, just try to make a change in the world. And we try to focus on that every day so that we don't get frustrated or overwhelmed, and just know that we're making a change every day. A lot of what journalists will often rely on is the concept that we call narrative. You already know the story you want to tell, then you take whatever facts just happened today and fit it into that pre-existing story. And if I could take this opportunity to say something that I really admire about Menachem Begin, he was saying in the 1950s, and it's prophetic that he was saying this back then, that he was saying that nationalism, the idea of believing in a nation and being proud to be a part of it, is not antithetical to liberalism. And also that national security is not antithetical to the idea of human rights. And in fact, he spent much of his career fighting for Israel to balance these concepts. And now, really in the last decade or so, it's become very strong in the international narrative that this idea that you are either in favor of nationalism or liberalism, that you either believe in national security or human rights, but it can't be both. And because Israel is a country that was based on Jewish nationalism, and because Israel is so constantly involved in national security issues, it's very easy for Israel to get caught up in a narrative as being illiberal and not respecting human rights. And our challenge is to make sure that we pierce that narrative and tell the real story of the complexity of what Israel is, and encourage journalists to grasp and share that complexity despite the pressures that they're under.
I'm just wondering, in this digital age, Daniel, are things getting worse or better from your perspective in terms of news media and how it impacts public opinion and policy?
Yeah, that's a question. The good part about social media is we can directly reach people. The bad part about social media is so can everybody else. But conventional media still has a very big role to play, because a lot of the discussion you see on social media platforms begins with a news article that gets widely disseminated, and the discussion flows from there. In a way, it's made things harder because the news has a tremendous amount of pressure on them to be competitive with other outlets, to be fast and to be short, and to work on lower budgets. On the other hand, it does make it easier to fact check, to rebut, and to get other information out there, and to encourage other people to check that information. So it's a little of both. But, we worked with a consortium of a number of organizations, and also with Michal in the Knesset, to convince Facebook for the first time to pass a rule saying that Holocaust denial actually violates their terms and conditions and won't be permitted on their platform. We also worked with a number of organizations to get Louis Farrakhan's 4th of July speech removed from YouTube, which was a horribly anti-Semitic speech. So we do find that as we reach out to these social media giants on a human level, to the people who are in decision-making capacities, and use the power and prestige of, for example, a member of Knesset or an NGO like ourselves, we are able to open lines of communication and convince people on a human level to do the right thing.